Yo, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Treaty LPC, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Self-Awareness Podcast. Guys, I know that you guys are probably tired of me saying every single week that the guest is going to be amazing, they're going to be dope, they're going to be all of these things, but I promise you this week it's true because it's always true. I always have amazing guests, but this week I am going to be speaking with Hurley Reed. Hurley is a sex therapist. He is a podcast host of Taste of Sex, and he is also an awesome event planner, so please get with him, guys, if you're interested in getting events. I'll have him plug more of his information later on in the show. But guys, please welcome to the Self-Awareness Podcast. Without further ado, Mr. Hurley Reed. Hey, Hurley, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, Tree? How you doing today? I'm doing great.
I am doing well. Thank you so much for asking. Really, really great. And I'm excited to talk to you today because I know this has been a long time coming. Had to beg you to come on the show. So I appreciate you coming to share your expertise today.
I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah. So we can go ahead and actually get started by having you tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So again, my name is Hurley Reed, and I am actually working on getting my sex therapy license, joining the ASECT, and actually connected with that community is something that I was totally interested in back in grad school about a decade ago. And so I'm finally just getting to a place where I'm taking on that challenge and pursuing it. I also do event planning. I have this brand that I named after my daughter, which is Jade Reed Empowerment. And so it's me doing a taste of a lot of things. So again, like she said, my podcast is A Taste of Sex, but I do a taste of Black excellence, a taste of wellness, different things like that. So that way, just as a community, as human beings, we could definitely get together and just celebrate that taste and give a little aspect of each other. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. All right. So thank you for kind of sharing a little bit about what you do. I want to know a little bit more about who you are.
Okay. So just for me, besides like giving you guys a rundown of like I'm on a dating app, we just need a black male that I feel like I appreciate. For me, I am just definitely a person who just loves to celebrate. I love to have a good time. I love to enjoy. I've been working in, of course, higher education and stuff for a long time. And so just connecting with different people within that aspect. Mm-hmm. And just being around and within, I love my people. Don't get me wrong, as far as in the Black community and breaking stigmas and breaking barriers and bondages as much as possible. So I'm just a person that just enjoys life as much as possible. Don't mean that I don't have ups and downs that kind of come across that happen, but just learning to embrace what's in front of me and what's present. And just enjoying and knowing that, I am fearfully and wonderfully made at the end of the day.
Okay. We going with Bible quotes today. Okay. I guess that's on brand for what we plan to talk about today.
Right. I have to always give it to all praise to God. I appreciate it. But I have another side too.
Gotcha. I want to know more about that other side, but before we even get into that, sex therapy, you said you waited 10 years to really truly explore that. What made you interested in sex therapy?
Myself, honestly, just it really started with a class that I took back in graduate school, and it was about the human anatomy and sexuality of people in general, and it was the science behind it that made me so intrigued by what was happening, but it also made me reflect off my own self and my own life of not wanting at that time to be in a relationship. I was that person that got asked a few times, but I kind of turned people down because I was like, I just want to have fun. I just want to enjoy. And I didn't realize till later that it came from, other past little things that I may can call minor traumas that happened to me. But I also, like I said, I started reflecting on myself and just realizing that this was something that I was really interested in. I was always comfortable around the conversations of sex and positions and different things like that. So to see it from a different side of more of the release of like oxytocins and dopamines and how that affects as far as in release within the body and how sex can be looked at as a fun way, a good way, a bad way, or a good way, as far as in other research. And I just took it a step further. And I didn't do it for a while because I just was nervous. I was nervous about what people would think and of me doing this and why I was going to get into it, and was I going to look at as crazy for even just considering this as an opportunity. And then I just got to a place where I said, forget it. I'm going to do it. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, definitely. I mean, I can understand why it would be a little bit nerve-wracking to go into that particular medium of therapy, because there is like a stigma. People tend to be a little bit afraid of sex. Even in relationships, people sometimes struggle with talking about sex. What are some of the things that you kind of notice about like conversations? Like, I know you curated an event recently with, talking about sex, and the podcast will focus a lot on that. What do you think most people are afraid of talking about when it comes to sex? Or why do you think they're so afraid of talking about sex?
I can say definitely, just like you said, the stigma around it, or just going back, even just as a Black community. And I probably will say within just the human race in general, a lot of people didn't have those conversations with parents or, with anyone, or they felt judgment behind maybe some things that they are interested in, or whether it's fetishes or whether it's even a spectrum of, hey, I'm not having sex, I'm a virgin, to someone who says I am just okay with being, as we say, promiscuous, and I'm just enjoying life and having multiple partners. And so, or even if it's like you said, a relationship situation, some people just may not want to even, whether it's the past or whether it's the present, or having those conversations of saying, hey, I'm not being sexually pleased, so this is a problem. So then people kind of suppress those feelings and just kind of go with the flow a lot of times. And I can tell it's an awkwardness of emotion and feeling, even in class. Thinking back on when I was in graduate school, I remember us in class talking about it. And besides me and one other young lady that was in the class, everybody else was just like, ooh, and it felt like a bunch of kids take me back to like middle school and learning sex ed. And they like, oh my gosh. And I was over there like, yes, let's talk more about it. But even as adults, people are so just nervous. So I think that's why a lot of people don't have the conversation about sex as often as they should.
Right. Yeah, there is that nervousness, especially like with new partners, to kind of say some of those things. And then sometimes with older partners, because you're like, I don't even feel like having this conversation again. Right. But I think that it is really important for us to talk about sex and to talk about it from a free standpoint. So you said you were initially kind of nervous about even exploring sex therapy as an occupation. And then here you are now, like ready to talk about it to the world. What helped you get to that place of being like, you know what, F what everybody else thinks about what I want to do. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to be my authentic self. I'm going to just do what feels best for me.
My work, I can honestly say, of actually putting work in for myself, of dealing with it, because I started realizing after seeking like therapy that I had that more hypersexuality like disorder. And because I was so in tune with sex and trauma, I dealt with molestation as a kid for many years. And so it was something that I didn't realize that I suppressed all these years. I just kind of moved forward with it. Then going to teenage years, everybody was kind of doing it, so-called, or either lying about it. And
lying about it.
Right, they were either lying about it or something, but it was more talk about it because it became more of a cool thing to do. It became something that was more aware, so it didn't make me feel as guilty or bad. But then after kind of becoming an adult, and going to therapy because I realized that I wanted to focus on self-love. And that was something that pinched a nerve, was sexuality and experiences. And it was traumatic for me, where I'm not even an emotional person, but I can remember it breaking me down to where I literally had to go and sit in my car for like an hour and just cry because I didn't realize how much weight that was putting on me, where I enjoyed the desire, but there was something about it afterwards that I still had a guilty sense of knowledge about. And so I just, after doing that, and then also in between, just having conversations with friends about certain topics and just giving good advice. I've had friends that say, "Oh my gosh, you helped my relationship." And I was just doing it just for fun, just saying things, because I experienced it all. I experienced from all different sides of the spectrum, of the other side of promiscuity, of being open to, as far as in partners and different things of that nature. So I felt like I had a well-balanced experience. And then I didn't see many people like myself looking like that. But yeah, going to the conferences, and I didn't see any Black men. I saw, Latino women. I saw Black women, just a few, but I've mainly seen like Caucasians. And, nothing's wrong with that. No judgment, but that's just a zone that they decided to go into. But for me, I wanted to see representation of myself being there and having someone to talk to. And just opening up to friends, talking to friends about the conversation. It just became more of a niche, and I felt that comfort in having those conversations, and then just getting the feedback of people saying, "Oh, you helped me in these situations," or, with my partner, or talking about this, or just the connection of having that comfort zone. People felt like, "Oh man, like this is cool." And so being able to connect with people made me say, I felt like it just kept coming to me that I needed to do this.
Wow. Okay. So it literally is a profession that is kind of made for you. You just kind of naturally gravitated to that niche. And that's absolutely amazing. You were saying something earlier that I really started to think about in my own journey of like coming to terms with sexuality and being able to express that, especially the guilt piece. Initially, I recently had the opportunity to do a workshop on LGBTQIA plus pride. And a lot of what we talked about in that workshop was around being your authentic self, but also sometimes the shame and guilt that comes with being able to kind of just be yourself. And what really kind of struck me was my personal journey with getting okay with being me, but also then being in the street for a while and like dealing with some women that were struggling with their sexuality and always feeling guilty anytime we slept together. And I'd be like, you won't have to work that out with God, because I ain't got nothing to do with that. And I can't, I can't fix your relationship. You have to work out that for yourself. But I know that sex therapy, a lot of what you do and explore is like the intersection between sex therapy and mental health. And I heard you also speak about your mental health journey. Can you speak a little bit more about how you see sex therapy and mental health intersecting?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, there's a good side. There's a fun side of it. So, and then there's the bad side. And I always say the good side of it is more the educational side of learning as far as about the body. Like I said, releasing, those dopamines and estrogens and all those kind of things, and oxytocins, and, within the body, the relaxation that it can cause, and calories. Some people didn't even know about, sperm carrying calories and different things like that. And, it's still not confirmed of how much, research has quote unquote stated that is like 25 milligrams of it, but of it having vitamins. And
so what are you even saying right now? Like, are you suggesting that women should be swallowing cum because it has calories in what? I just want to, can you clarify what you mean by that?
But out of the, and that's a crazy question, because a lot of people be like, "Oh, should I be doing that more?" I wouldn't say more, because it still has health risks to it at the same time. But you don't get, unless if you're with someone who you trust and hey, we're committed and everything like that, then that's totally fine. But it does carry like calcium within it. But then also you have the intake of what the person is putting inside of their body too as well. So that can be an issue, but it's not a bad thing. But it's if you know who you're with and you're comfortable with who you're with, but on the other end of the spectrum, it still gives you just a tad bit of vitamins, just a tad bit. Even though it releases so much, it still gives you just a little bit of what you may need. So that's the good side of it, the educational side. Then of course the fun is of talking about fetishes or experiences a lot of times, and just having those conversations about, hey, this is what I've done or this is what I'm doing. But then when it comes to the bad side, a lot of it does deal with coincide with the mental health aspect of depression. It could be sexual trauma that has happened, sexual abuse in some form or fashion, and so and anxiety. It can deal with as far as in a lot of anxiety. It can release it or it can bring it on. And even some people say, oh, well, if I'm not releasing those dopamines and different things like that within, having sex and having withdrawals, then is it going to cause me to be in a position where I develop depression? And it can, in a way, as far as in it won't cause it to come on, because if you're living just a normal, happy life and you're doing different things, then you'll be fine. But when it comes to like depression or anxiety, you can find other coping methods to kind of focus around. But when it comes to, sex does help with those, or having a consistent sexual partner, or even just ejaculation, masturbation. Those things do help with as far as in the mental health aspect of things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, if you're not doing it, that you will fall into those categories, but they can release some of that energy that you're, just like exercising, it can release some of that energy that you, as far as in need within the chemical imbalance that may be happening within your body, that's kind of playing a part of your mind too as well. So it helps. It can help, but it can put you in a place. It just depends on what you're dealing with. Like for me, I dealt with, like I said, hypersexuality, and I didn't even know that's what it was called until I started kind of going through my own therapy session. I just thought I was just horny. I thought I was just a horny person, and I just thought, hey, but I knew there was something behind it, because then I would, like you said, we talk about the guilt. I would get the satisfaction maybe within the midst of it, but then I would come home and scrub my body like you'd have thought I rolled around in cow manure and dirt, all that stuff out there. And then I was like having just negative thoughts afterwards because of it. But then I still had that urge that was still kicking every now and then. And so it was something that I had to tap into to find other ways and coping mechanisms for myself to help me kind of reverse my mind and to a different aspect. So, and then that's of course like sex addictions that people deal with too as well. So just a tad bit different from the hypersexuality, where it's like I got to have it all the time. So that's something within the mind that could have transpired from even something of just not feeling loved or not getting enough attention from childhood, or even from a relationship that you're currently in, even as an adult. Those things can start to expire. Come into your mind and just kind of take over. So mental health, and a lot of times of what you're doing with mental health or psychosis is another factor too as well. Because you have people that have strong obsessions out here that deal with it, like even just going to Jeffrey Dahmer, back then was something that, dealt with psychosis, but he had a sexual fetish on top of other disorders too as well. So it all kind of, connects.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks for kind of exploring that. So I got two things out of that. First, on that first trip, I was like, oh, you talking about calories. I'm like, oh, you talking about like, oh, you gonna burn some calories while you having sex. You started talking about sperm. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. I had to call an audible on that because I was not feeling it. And the second piece, just around like the kinks piece, because like a lot of people have fetishes, they have kinks, but a lot of people are afraid to have those conversations as it relates to just really being able to explore that. How would you suggest people who are interested in kinks kind of explore their interest in that area?
I would say first, be safe, of course. No matter what it is that you're doing, safety is very important. Protecting yourself from all causes, dangers that's out there, because a lot of fetishes are risk. When you're dealing with those fetishes a lot of times. I would just say if that's something that you're exploring, if you're single, there's so many different clubs that's out here and that you can connect with other people that are doing exactly what you're interested in too as well. So if it's from a single standpoint, then maybe connecting with someone and exploring that opportunity, kind of even finding out what about it makes you even interested in the first place. What drew you to that? Did you watch a pornography that you saw and you was like, this is quite interesting? Did someone talk about it? Where did you see it? How did it just transpire into your mind to say, okay, this is what I kind of want to explore. I kind of want to do, and sometimes it just takes doing it to get that urge off. And then it'll let you know whether or not you want to do it or not. If it's a relationship, of course, talking to your partner, talking to that individual just to say, hey, this is something that, and put it in a safe zone too, where you're not being judged about it from your partner or the person that you're wanting to explore this with, because you don't want it to turn into a place where it does start messing with your mental, because now you're starting to think, am I weird for this? Am I crazy for thinking about this? Or even if not, having some type of I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, but like push away from your partner.
A safe word or something, or what are you talking
about? I don't know. It's just a term I'm just trying to think of that I'm trying to sound right. But it's like the I won't say is it regression or like that to the point where it gets you where you don't want to, where you kind of look at your partner differently, or you kind of put yourself in a place where you're like, oh, okay, let me push myself back just a little bit from even exploring certain things or having certain conversations, because of the fact that this may be something that's really strong on you, that you really want to pursue or that you really want to try. But just having that conversation, of course, and if you're in a relationship, I'm sure it's the conversation, you could get some jokes out of it or whatever, especially with it being a kink or a fetish. But, just let them know how serious you are about it. And I think that communication is just a big thing, but finding it and just being safe with it and having fun and just allowing it to be more of a fun thing than something so like intense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that exploring that can be really difficult for a lot of people. And going back to kind of what you said earlier, like the mental health piece of it, I feel like I know I kind of jokingly skipped over some of that, but I feel like you said so much good stuff there around just like how it all intersects in terms of trauma and different things that people can experience. And I love that you've explored your past history of sexual trauma in therapy, because it is something that a lot of times people shy away from talking about. And it's something that is so prevalent. I was having a conversation recently with my stepmom about something I had no clue she was familiar with in terms of someone from the community back home in LaGrange who was known to be a child molester. And I had never heard anyone talk about it. But I knew someone who was directly impacted by this person, which is how I knew. But I was like, this is common knowledge, but we don't talk about it, and we kind of protect and hide sometimes those predators within the community. And I can only imagine what that person may still be doing to people to this very day. And it's really disheartening to kind of think about it. But I do think for anyone who is listening and you've experienced childhood sexual trauma, or you've experienced any type of sexual trauma, please get the help. There are a lot of different support groups out there, but definitely talking through a therapist to process through your trauma is so important. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and being so open about it, because I have a lot of women on this show that speak about their history of dealing with that, but I've not had a lot of males come on and be willing to kind of say that openly, because we mostly focus on the women in our society. And I think it is important and brave of you to share that, because it can help so many men that have been afraid to come forward and say what they experienced.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you'll be surprised how many men out there who really have experienced that in some form of fashion, or, dealt with it even probably at a later age. I know sometimes some people revert back to childhood, but even as an adult, probably dealt with sexual trauma, rape as a man. And it's not even uncommon for them to experience it from a woman, and you'll think, okay, it's a man, he always wants a woman. But right. Some men are like, just because I like it doesn't mean that I wanted it from that particular person, or that I wanted it the way that it happened. It was maybe a little bit too aggressive. And I agree, people who definitely, please seek that help, because you don't realize how much weight you're carrying, and how much you feel like you're doing you don't have the realization of that, how you're doing certain things, even in your adulthood, that could have came from those traumatic situations. For myself, I just remember seeing what broke me down was seeing myself as a kid, as a 19-year-old. And I remember just seeing myself as that kid, just trying to fight through it and navigate through it. And I just felt really sorry for myself. Mm-hmm. And I felt really even bad for that kid, but I had to just apologize to that kid and go through those role-playing techniques to really just be free. And today I can talk about it, and with a strength, more than feeling like it's a weakness or fear behind it. And actually just with the therapy, going through the techniques of just apologizing and role playing with talking to myself as a kid, apologizing, but also just accepting what happened. And I know sometimes we'll look at that like, oh my gosh, why should I have to accept it? And it happened to me, but you do have to accept it for your own well-being and your own clarity as far as within your mind. And so those was a lot of different techniques, and writing letters to myself, and just imagining myself as that kid, and just saying, hey, it really wasn't your fault. You just had to deal with it and grow up mentally on your own, because you had to navigate, even have people around you, but not knowing how to communicate that, or what to say, or the shame that comes behind it. And like I was saying, I'm not ashamed anymore. I used to be ashamed to talk about it, especially as a man. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want people to know, that this happened to me. But just seeing it as so many men out there, that I would encourage you to seek the guidance, seek the advice, seek the therapy, to seek the healing is really what it is. It's the healing and you'll start to realize a little bit more about, your self-worth, and how mentally it does stick with you, and how you do move as an adult or move into relationships. And once I did that healing, I really got to a place where I was like, okay, I can calm down on it helped me with my hypersexuality, and just that urge of sex and that desire, and to be able to just be free. It was a lot of weight lifted off of it that I just can't even explain. You just have to feel it for yourself. But trust me, it's a beauty. It gets dark for a moment, but it's a beauty behind it. It's a lot of light behind it. So trust the process.
I really appreciate you sharing that, and even exploring your therapy journey. a little bit more in terms of what that looked like for you as you were speaking about it earlier and talking about, how we don't talk about the men side of that. What came to my mind initially was like this video that was surfacing a couple of years ago about Lil Wayne talking about his first sexual experience where Birdman paid for someone to have sex with him. But really what came up to my mind right after that was the recent incident that occurred with Michael Rainey from Power, where a female grabbed him on a recorded live video. And I was just like, people were saying all these crazy things about him, but I'm like, he was just sexually assaulted on live recording, and he couldn't even do anything because if he had reacted in a certain type of way, he was just in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But this lady violated him, and some people were like laughing at him, like, why are you looking like that? Like, that was jarring. So I think that those type of things happening brings more visibility to the fact that it's not just the thing that happens to women. It is something that happens to men. But I do want to kind of shift gears a little bit and ask you, how do you personally connect with the idea of being self-aware and fucked up?
Oh, shit. I'm just like, it's one of those things where I know for me mentally, having the self-awareness of just understanding and loving sex. And it fucked me up in a lot of ways, with the way I move, the way I think as far as within relationships and just connecting with people sometimes. It always made me feel weird, like I was in my own box a lot of times, and that I moved in my own space, in which I've always been a person where, shout out to my moms for always telling me as a kid, like playing with other kids and stuff. She was like, you create your own table, you know what I mean? And you allow people to come to you by just having your own energy and your own connection. But just being self-aware of, just the life of sex. And the way that I move it allowed me to realize, like, yeah, I'm fucked up, in a lot of ways, but I'm also, good. And I can clean it up too as well. I don't know if that made sense, but it was all
I'm like, fucked up in what ways? Like, you're not telling us what ways you were fucked up in. Like, I'm confused now.
Just, I would say with me, it's definitely, it's that, I would say that cut off energy that I have sometimes. I can easily like cut people off and move on if I don't feel like comfortable or I don't want to be around. Like I could definitely give off the energy of that. I'm just laid back and chill. Because I remember one time, just to go back, we talked about my Gemini side, and that's where my fucked up mentality could come in, because I can just see or feel a red flag with somebody, or even just going back to what my experience with sex. Like I could literally get up and don't talk to people anymore, like never communicate anymore, even if they liked me and they wanted to see me again. Like I said, even in the past of having relationships, trying to build relationships, and then people would ask me and I would be like, nah, like I'm good. Like I don't want to be in a relationship. I don't want to be tied down. There's other people out here that I just want to meet. And I would just give it like straight like that. And they'd be like, damn, like you don't want to. And I'm like, no. And I just didn't want to. And I was like, ooh, that self-aware had to kick in. Like I said, and then that's what made me realize, like, okay, you look fucked up. Not a little bit, but probably a lot. And how you move and how you think and how you deal with people. But I didn't realize, even just outside of like sexual relationships, I was doing the same thing with people in friendships and in work relationships too as well. And I would just be like, yeah, no, I don't want to deal with you. I don't have to deal with you. I don't have to even speak to you again. And I'm okay. And it wouldn't even matter how many years I've known someone. If something went wrong, something went sideways, I was always a person that was like, yeah, I'm good. It's no disrespect or anything, no beef if I see you, but I'm good. So I had to determine, and I'm still figuring out where did that really, really start for me, but I guess as a kid, but I always just been that person. So sometimes I never even had like a solid group of people,
Mm. Well, I guess I feel blessed that we haven't gotten cut off yet.
No, I enjoy y'all.
I got you. Well, I really, really, truly appreciate your time today. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
I really want you to share with the audience, how can they connect with you if they want to listen to your podcast, if they want to book you to plan events, or if they want to, work with you in any type of capacity?
Yeah, so I can definitely, of course, Facebook, the name Hurley Reed, I'm self-titled. But as far as an Instagram, right now, I do have my @Cloud9, which is KLOUDN, the number 9, NE_2.0. You can always DM me. You can always reach out, follow me. Next month in July, I will be starting. Currently I'm building my Taste Of page. So it will reflect off of A Taste of Sex, which is S.E.X, which is Sexually Educated XXX experience. And so that's what the S.E.X stands for. And so I'll be posting, and I'm starting my platform. So July, at least the second week of July, I should have my first episode recorded and ready to go. And so I had to just do some rebranding and rethinking, but on what I had, but you can definitely reach out to me through those Instagram. But if it comes to it, Reed, RED_Hurley at yahoo.com right now for events. To plan, please, any one of those platforms, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm a big on communication. So yes.
Awesome. Well, again, Hurley, I truly appreciate your time. Guys that are listening, please make sure that you connect with Hurley, learn more about what he has going on, and listen to his podcast, Taste of SEX. It is going to be available on all major streaming platforms, so make sure that you guys check it out. Also, be sure to follow me, Tree the LPC, on all social media platforms under the handle Tree the LPC. Until next time, be safe, be well, and make sure that you take care of your mental health.